Hello, this video goes over problem number 1 located on page 355 of your textbook. So here you gathered some apples from the backyard of apple tree and you want to make some apple pies and some applesauce. You know that it's going to take 7 apples to make 1 apple pie and it will take 5 apples to make 1 pint of applesauce. So write an inequality that describes the possible number of apple pies and pints of applesauce. So the first thing you need to do is pick your variables. It doesn't matter which one in this case is x or y, but you need to define them because that's going to affect the graph. So I'm just going to make x that first thing, which is going to be the amount of apple pies. So number of apple pies. And that's going to be on our x-axis down here. So I'm just going to write it while I have it. And that would make my y value going to be, it would be number of pints of applesauce. So I'll put that over here, number of pints of applesauce. First thing says write an inequality. Well, I know that it's going to take 7 apples to make 1 apple pie. So that's going to be 7 times the number of pies I make, and that's going to use up those amount of apples. And then I'm going to add it to the 5 apples that it takes to make 1 pint of applesauce. And I don't know how many pints of applesauce I'm making, so that's 5 times y. This amount must be less than or equal to 36. Because if you think about it, you only have 36 apples. So this amount needs to be less than that, or you could do 36 apples. This is the inequality that you need to write. And the next thing is graph the inequality. Well, we already started setting up our graph. I'm going to draw the axes in here, x-axis and y-axis. And I labeled the axes already. I know this is 0. Don't really have an idea of my numbers yet. But I can think about the intercepts are not going to work well, so I'm going to actually just solve this one for y so that it is in slope-intercept form. So I will subtract 7x from both sides, so I have 5y is less than or equal 36 minus 7x, and divide everything by 5. So I'm going to move over here so you can see it. I have y is less than or equal to 36 fifths, and then minus 7 fifths x. Now, if we think about it, when we're graphing, we need to get an idea of what 36 fifths is, and that is really just 7.2. So you might want to think of this as y is less than or equal to 7.2 minus 7 fifths x. Now I'm going to leave that because that's my slope and that's going to help me write this. So if my y-intercept is 7.2, I don't have to count too high. So I'm going to count by ones. Okay, so I have to estimate the 7.2 for the y-intercept. And then when I'm using this, I don't have another value, so I need to be very careful as I go down 7 and right 5. So down 7 is not going to just be the whole way down here, like at 0 here. It's going to be a little bit off, so I have to move. That's 2, that's 3, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, so it's a little bit above, and then I can move over my 5. So there is my point. So I have 2 points here. It didn't work really well in the graph. So I'm just going to kind of sketch it in and then I can get an idea. So here is, my line. If I use the intercepts, I could get exactly what this is, which would be a little over 5. And since this value is 7x plus 5y is less than or equal 36, I will have this little section of possibilities. So then we can look at all the different possibilities, and that's what it's trying to get to do for part C. So just picking some possibilities here and then test them out in our equation. So one of the possibilities should be 2, 2, which would be, if you remember, this is apple pies, 2 apple pies and 2 pints of applesauce. If I put that in the equation, I have 7 times 2, which is 14, plus 5 times 2, which is 10. And that's going to be 24 apples that I'm using, and that is less than or equal to 36. I'm not really sure if this one works, because it's a little hard to graph, but we can always try it. So that's 3, 3. We can see if that one works. 7 times 3 is 21, and 5 plus 3 is, or 5 times 3 is 15. So then 21 plus 15 is actually 36. That one works exactly with the right amount of apples. And just another one could be any of these values here. So if you think about just using this one. This is 1 apple pie, and then you have 4 pints, and you can check it. 1 times 4 is 7, and then we would add 20, so that's 27. That's only 27 apples. When you write in these amounts, combinations, you can write them with the coordinate points as long as you tell me what the x and the y equal. And that's it for this problem.